Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, so right now, up in the skies, there's this absolutely brutal, high-stakes race going on, and it is completely reshaping the entire airline industry. You've got winners consolidating power, and the losers, well, they're facing extinction. So today, we're going to break down exactly how this battle is unfolding and, what it all means for the future of flight. All right, let's just jump right in with a quote that sounds, well, incredibly final. The 2020s have been decided. Now, you might think that's just hyperbole, right? But it's not. This is coming straight from industry insiders. And what it means is that a massive, fundamental shift has already happened. The key players for this entire decade, they're pretty much locked in. So the big question is, how did we get to such a definitive outcome?
It all starts with this one number, 30%. Just think about that. That is how much airline operating costs have just skyrocketed since 2019. We're talking fuel, labor, parts, you name it, it's more expensive. And this one single fact has created this immense pressure cooker that is forcing every single airline out there to make these dramatic, bet-the-company kind of decisions.
So all this massive cost pressure, it's created what we're calling the Great Airline Squeeze. See, airlines just can't afford to be everything to everyone anymore. It doesn't work. Instead, they're being shoved into one of two very different and, frankly, very dangerous strategic corners.
Basically, the middle of the market is just vanishing. It's disappearing. An airline has to make a choice. Either you have the big bucks to go after those high-margin premium flyers, or you have to be lean and mean enough to survive a totally ruthless, low-cost war. There is just no comfortable middle ground anymore, and that is the central tension defining the whole industry today.
Okay, so to really get how airlines are fighting this war, we first have to look at their weapons. And I'm talking about the planes themselves. You see, this whole story is built on the foundation of a decades-long duel between two manufacturing giants. And their rivalry, their competition, basically dictates what's even possible for any airline out there.
For the longest time, Boeing was the undisputed king of the skies. No question. But this European consortium, Airbus, they decided to play the long game. Back in the 70s, they started innovating with a new kind of jet. Then, in the 80s, they launched the A320 program to go head-to-head with Boeing's super-dominant 737. By 1997, the duopoly we know today was pretty much official. And after decades of just chipping away, and let's be honest, getting a little help from Boeing's own stumbles, the Airbus A320 family finally surpassed the 737 in total orders in 2019. It's now on track to become the most produced jet in history. What a comeback story.
And look, this isn't some future prediction. This is the reality right now, today. When you look at the order books, Airbus has a staggering backlog. We're talking over 8,700 planes. To put that in perspective, analysts figure it'll take them almost 13 years to build and deliver all of them. So yeah, by this one really crucial metric, Airbus is absolutely firmly in the lead.
So why the huge lead? What's the secret sauce? Well, it really boils down to this head-to-head matchup in the single most important part of the market, those narrow-body, single-aisle jets. The Airbus A321neo can just do more. It can fly more people, and it can fly them farther. Look at that range difference. That's huge. We're talking 4,700 nautical miles versus 3,100. For an airline, that opens up totally new routes, like flying across the Atlantic with a cheaper, more efficient plane. And here's the kicker. Boeing's competitor, the MAX 10, isn't even certified to fly yet. So right now, Airbus has a killer product that Boeing simply can't match.
Yeah, and this quote from an analyst really just puts a fine point on it, doesn't it? It says, Dave Calhoun was the best CEO Airbus ever had. Ouch. Here's why. Back in 2022, Calhoun, who was Boeing's CEO at the time, announced they weren't going to develop a new jet until the next decade. Well, what was the results? Airlines that desperately needed a plane with the capabilities of the A321neo, they had literally no choice. They had to go to Airbus. And Airbus sold over 1,300 of them in the next year alone. You could say that Boeing's own strategy essentially handed its rival a massive, massive victory.
Okay, so let's bring this down from the manufacturing level and see how this all actually plays out for the airlines, at 30,000 feet. We're going to look at a tale of two airlines whose fates just perfectly illustrate that split we were talking about. One is absolutely thriving by chasing the premium market, and the other, Well, it's collapsing under the intense pressure of the low-cost game.
All right, first up is United, and a huge part of their strategy comes down to one key concept: upgauging. Sounds technical, but it's pretty simple. Think about a super crowded airport like Newark. You can't just add more flights whenever you want. The slots are all taken. So what does United do? They upgauge. They swap out their smaller regional jets for bigger mainline planes on the exact same route. Same slot, but now you've got way more seats. And more seats means more potential money per flight. Plus, you can serve both your high-end flyers and your economy passengers all at once.
And you know what? The strategy is absolutely working. It's pretty amazing, actually. United is succeeding at both ends of the spectrum. They grew their basic economy sales by a whopping 20%. That's how they compete with the budget guys. But at the same time, they also grew their super profitable premium revenue. By fighting on both fronts like this, they're basically building a profitable moat around their entire business.
Okay, so that's the success story. Now let's flip the coin and look at the other side of this great airline squeeze. This number, -$2 billion, that's the total loss Spirit Airlines has racked up since just 2020. They have become the poster child for the brutal, brutal realities of trying to survive in that low-cost fight.
Spirit's path to bankruptcy was just this cascade of disasters, one thing after another. First, you have that 30% industry-wide cost hike. For a carrier like Spirit, you just can't pass that on to your super price-sensitive customers. Then, disaster number 2. A huge engine recall from Pratt & Whitney grounds a massive chunk of their all-Airbus fleet. Suddenly, their ability to make any money is crippled. And the final nail in the coffin? Their desperately needed merger with JetBlue, their one lifeline, gets blocked by a federal judge over competition concerns. With literally no other options left, they filed for bankruptcy.
So where does that leave us?
You've got Airbus dominating the manufacturing side. You've got legacy airlines like United building these fortresses around their business. So what does it all mean for the future of flight? Is the game just over? Well, not quite. Really, the central question for the next decade becomes this: who is going to disrupt the duopoly? Can anyone break the stranglehold that Airbus and Boeing have on the market? Because whenever an industry gets this consolidated, it's always ripe for disruption. The only question is, where's it going to come from?
Well, there are really 3 key contenders that you got to watch. First, could we see a resurgent Boeing? Maybe with new leadership, they finally commit to building a true competitor to that A321neo. Then you've got China's Comac. It's a state-backed company. Could they use government subsidies to just flood the market and disrupt everything? And finally, don't forget Brazil's Embraer. A lot of experts think this highly respected regional jet maker has the engineering chops to scale up and become a legitimate third player in the narrow-body space.
So here's the bottom line. While the winners of the 2020s might seem decided, the chess pieces are already moving for the next great battle. The decisions being made right now, today, by these huge manufacturers and airlines, they're not just going to determine who survives. They're going to decide the cost, the comfort, and the destinations available to all of us for the entire decade to come. The battle for the 2030s is just begun.